have a few things that have been languishing in the cupboard that need some attention. And I'm hoping that by turning the camera on today, it's gonna motivate me to actually do the things that I've been planning to do to not one, not two, but 3 skirts that I have. 2 of them I thrifted, 1 of them I made last year that I have wanted to update since I did that. But let's start with the easy stuff first. I'm gonna make a coffee and we'll sit down with the very first project, which is changing the elastic on a skirt that I thrifted. Coffee made. I thrifted this skirt about 6 months ago. It is witchery, and I'm gonna call it like the millennial skirt because it is just like the most typically millennial item of clothing I think all of us have owned at least some point in our lives. Talking to the millennials here. I picked it up because my other cotton on skirt that I've had for more than 10 years, which is like was a very cheap purchase at the time, is on its last legs. The fabric is really thin. I have completely worn it to death and it's about time that it went in the bin. But it is still something that I like to grab in my wardrobe, especially in summer, because it's just kind of easy to wear. So the elastic is kind of the only thing that's not working in this anymore. So I'm gonna try and figure out a way to replace it without causing too much damage to the overall skirt. So I think it's like an invisible stitch that's holding that top bit of the waistband down. I don't know how I'm going to do this or if it's even possible. My plan was to unpick this waistband and replace the elastic, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. So let's just see. Let's just see what happens, I guess. Okay, well, this is already going better than I thought. I've managed to pick completely by accident the side where the elastic is originally joined, and I think I could probably just unpick that, stitch it down, and then sew up this seam, and hey presto, I don't even need to replace the elastic. I can just use the elastic that's already here. Isn't it nice when things just work out? Sometimes I feel like I thrift things out of altruism because I see these sad clothes that are almost fine and they just need a bit of love to be brought back to life in order to continue. I'm guessing that that's probably why a lot of people thrift anyway. It's like an altruistic thing, right? It's like more sustainable to shop and clothe yourself that way. But yeah, there is this drive that I have whenever I see some sort of like, it's like a stray animal that's kind of been abandoned. I will show it love and I will teach it how to be okay again, and I will show the world and I will show it that that its life is not yet over. Just me, or are you the same? Please tell me. Sometimes though, when I thrift things, I'm like, oh, that'll be an easy fix. And then it's not an easy fix, or it's not an easy project. And lately I've just been a bit flat and my brain is just sort of, doesn't have the energy to deal with complicated shit right now. So the fact that this is already going like a little bit better than I thought it might is just a relief, really. This is so quick and easy. Yes. We know. I don't think I'm gonna need to take this in too much. Maybe like 2 or 3 inches. Put this on and see how it fits. So much better already. If you ever needed a reason to learn to sew, then this video should really be proof, especially if you're into sustainable clothing and thrifting and stuff, because this process has taken me all of about 5 minutes, and the 6 months before that I just like hadn't done anything. But yeah, like honestly, this is so quick to do, and it's gonna give this garment a whole new lease on life. Alright, these skirts are increasing in difficulty as we go. This is an Alana Hill skirt that I thrifted not that long ago, maybe like a month or so. It's definitely not my size. It's a size 6. I'm usually a size 10. In the US, I feel like the equivalent is like a size 6 is like a size 2. And so I think Australian size 10 is like a size 4? 6? Let me check. Usually a size 6. So in Australia, our sizes are different. I'm usually a size 10, which would be a US size 6. I don't know if that's relevant for any of you. So it's an Australian size 6 because Alana Hill is an Australian designer brand. Well, was it a designer brand? Is it still designer? I don't know if it counts as a designer anymore. So this is basically a size 2. And yeah, it clearly doesn't fit my bum very well. But as I saw it, I just like, I couldn't resist this print. I just think it's so fun. It's like Monet's fucking water lilies or something. And I couldn't resist it. It's fully lined, which is also just luxurious. But the reason that I decided to take it home is that the lining is not attached at the bottom. And so that means that I can access the side seams. And when I looked at the side seams, they are finished quite far away from where the seam has actually been sewn. And so it looks like half an inch, quarter of an inch. So that's like half an inch each side seam, which means an inch for the whole skirt, which I think might actually do the trick. Let me just measure it real quick and I'll tell you exactly what that allowance is. Okay, I've got my seam gauge right here. Let's come on in and you can see that it's a good quarter of an inch to where that overlock stitch starts, which would be like 5 mil. So I'm gonna end up with, is that how maths works? Because I'll get a quarter from each side, so that's half each side, and then, yeah, that's a full inch around. I don't know if that's gonna be enough to fit my bum in, but I'd like to give it a try because I really like this skirt. I also feel like maybe I could lose the lining because the lining is pretty intense and it's like polyester, so I don't know if it's gonna be the most comfortable thing to wear. The fabric is thick enough that it doesn't necessarily need to be lined. So let's just see how we go. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unpick just the portion of the hem near the side seam. I'm gonna restitch the side seams way out next to where that edge is finished. And then I'll unpick the original side seam and see how it fits. I really, really, really should have thought of bringing you along earlier because this is making this whole task and escapade adventure, it's making it seem way less daunting. So yeah, I've been having a weird relationship with YouTube lately. I've talked about it on a couple of videos. I'm just not sure if what I'm putting out is what you want to see. I've honestly just been absolutely hemorrhaging subscribers for the last month or two, which is just like really depressing. And yeah, it's really depressing, honestly. This skirt is also very similar to one that I thrifted in Amsterdam about 6 years ago when I went over there. I'm gonna throw some other thread on my machine and run down these side seams and we'll see how we're looking. It's gonna be tight. I don't know if this is gonna work. It also just occurred to me that I may need to take out the seam allowance on the lining as well. If worse comes to worse, I might just take out the stitching and let the finishing do the job of holding the skirt together. I don't know. Let's just see how we go. I've done the side seams, stitched the side seams now, and so I'm gonna unpick that original line of stitching and try it on, and then we'll see how it fits. I gotta say, all of this is going a lot more easily than I had originally thought it would. This thread is just unpicking so smoothly. I feel like this never happens to me. Maybe it's the universe being like, hey Steph, everything's gonna be alright. It's all good, man. It's all chill. Stop stressing about life. Thanks, universe. Well, this will be the moment of truth to see if the what's been behind that seam this whole time is actually in a decent condition, or if the skirt itself, where it has been washed and worn over the years, let's see what the inside of that seam looks like. I almost don't want to look. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. You can definitely see where the stitching was before. But I think after I wash this again, actually I haven't washed it yet because I knew I was going to do this. But I reckon if I wash this again and press it, hopefully that'll reset the fibers a little bit and those lines will be less noticeable. But also I feel like the pattern is just such that you wouldn't really notice that too much anyway. All right, let's unpick the other side and try this on and see how it fits around the ass. Okay, it's still pretty tight, but it's giving me a little bit more room to live in. I think I could probably wear this around the place. I think it's pulling a little less on the vent, although maybe not. Amazingly, this waistband is still reasonably comfortable. It's a little bit tight. I could probably do with losing a bit of tightness on that. But yeah, that's this skirt. Pretty much done. I'll just tidy up the hem, and I think, let's just see. If I pull that up a bit, I think that this lining is actually okay. It's kind of like helping me have a little bit more space in there by just holding it in a bit. Alright, I've done 2 skirts. I'm on to the third. I don't know if I'm going to get it done today because I just think it's going to involve a bit more time and effort and energy and brain power that I don't really have today. I also don't know where it is, so I'm going to have to dive into the sewing cupboard over there. I think it's in my pile of things I should really fix or chuck or repurpose. Yeah, it's a skirt I made last year. Let's go find it. Don't judge me, but I know I reorganized this sewing cupboard not so long ago and it's now horrendously messy again. I also have like a little secret stash behind here, behind my patterns, where I hide the things that I either need to fix or I'm thinking about turning into something else. So I think it might be back there. If it's not that back there, it's somewhere else in this general malaise. I can't even remember what I put in here. Oh, hey, there's that dress. I need to fix that dress. Aha! I did put it in here. Amazing. Cool. Alright. Acquired. Okay, so this is a skirt I made last year, and it uses the bottom half of one of my favorite skirts that I've ever owned, which had a mark on it. And I made it to wear underneath a dress to kind of give a little cocktail dress some more length to wear to a wedding. But I've never really liked how the dark pink goes with the lighter rose pink fabric. And when I was making this, the shop where I bought the rose fabric from said it didn't have any more left. And then after I posted that I had made that dress, miraculously, some more stock came on to their website, and so I bought it. And it has been sitting in its parcel, waiting for this day. Rightio, so there was 1.4 meters left, and I bought the rest of the roll, and what I'm going to do is basically change the bottom half of this skirt into the roses fabric. And I do have a bit of an idea about how I'm going to do it. I've been thinking about this for more than a year, literally more than a year. So let's get on to it. Not today, not today. I think all I'm going to manage today is to unpick the dark pink from the top half. I had a grand plan for all the things I was going to achieve today, and I did a couple of them. I went to the gym early and I did some other things, and then I got home and I kind of just sat watching YouTube for a while, and then I spent a long time trying to fix my hair that I bleached a couple of weeks ago, and I made it look slightly less yellow, which I'm happy about. But the thing that I really wanted to get done today was to finish off the third skirt on the list in this set of projects. But often what I find I do is that I put too much on my plate and I have higher expectations about what I can get done in a day. I'd really like to finish it, but I am at least just gonna start doing the next part of what I need to do, which is actually reattaching the bottom half of the skirt. And if it all gets done today, then that's great. And if not, then I'm gonna try and not be too annoyed at myself. Because I always do this, I always put way too much on my plate on a weekend, and then I don't actually feel rested by the end of the weekend. So let's go, try to figure that out. I packed my sewing machine away as well, so I feel like it's just like there's a barrier to entry there. I have to like get it out of the cupboard and actually get cracking with that again. So I'm gonna at least start with reshaping the bottom and cutting out the bottom part of the gathered bit that's going to go on the bottom. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So let's go over to the table and figure that out. I hope the washing machine isn't too loud in the background. But let's chat. So a long time ago when I thought about this project, I did draw a sketch as usual, and I hope I can find it. This is the original sketch from when I was first thinking about this project. You can see that I wanted to have like this upper part and then a gathered bit at the bottom. But what I've decided is actually based on some other inspiration that I saw, is that I want to have a curved part at this, on the front part of this upper fitted part. So let me draw it for you and I'll show you what I mean. Alrighty, on my original sketch and the original skirt, the fitted upper part goes straight across, but I wanted to change it to have a curve. I think this style looks really elegant, and my legs will also have plenty of room to move, and I think the skirt won't get as creased in that area when I sit down. I tried on the part that I had separated from the bottom, and I put a pin at the point where I wanted the top of the curve to be on the front. Then I found the center by folding it in half, and I actually lined up the front darts because my side seams were kind of lopsided from the first time around. And I used my curvy ruler thingy to get a rough curve from the pin that I used to mark the height of the curve out to the side seam. I was a bit hesitant though, so I went back to my inspiration image, and I noticed that the top of the curve actually came quite high on that original picture, and so I adjusted where I'd made my marks accordingly. Then, to be absolutely certain, I clipped up the curved bit and I tested how that would lay along my body before I totally committed to cutting this part off. With the piece that I cut from the top fitted part, I traced off this shape to use as the base pattern for the lower portion. I thought I was very clever when I realised that I would have to cut the piece with a curve as well before I was going to gather it and attach it to the upper half. I used another piece of trace to increase the width of this piece, including the curve, to account for the gathering all along that lower part. I've done this technique before where I divide the piece up into whatever increment and then trace each segment twice. Using the markings on my cutting mat made this process super duper easy, and I ended up with a piece about twice the length of the original curve because I wanted it to have quite a bunched, gathered look. I did a final check with the fabric and discovered that by some miracle, the fabric from selvage to selvage was pretty much exactly the width of my pattern piece. Again, all of these skirt projects just going way more smoothly than I ever imagined. This is my patented method for testing how much fabric you need and or how long something's going to turn out, or where to cut your fabric. Or like right now I'm just testing out if I have enough fabric to get a good gather on the skirt, as well as be like reasonably long enough. I don't think I want it to be like full maxi, but definitely a good sort of mid shin. And I think I'm gonna get there, which is very, very, very cool. Yeah, I think that's gonna be good. Let's get cracking. Okay, hopefully this is gonna be easy because I think I'm just gonna cut the piece of fabric that I have in half, like long ways, and then I'll cut out the front piece that needs this curve on it and gather it, and the back piece is just gonna be a gathered rectangle. So yeah, I think it's all good, and I just need to make sure that I put on some markings like center back, center front. Yay. Cool, that'll be my back, and this will be my front. I cut the things out, but the battery is about to run out of my camera, so I'm gonna go plug you in, and I'll be back later to finish this off. And in the meantime, I don't know, maybe I'll do some editing or probably just some more scrolling. The next morning I got out my machine finally, and I went ahead with gathering the new lower skirt pieces. I've seen this technique floating around my algorithm called crimping, where you hold your finger at the back of the foot while sewing long stitches as you normally would to gather something. I think it's really used for when you need to ease a sleeve into an armhole, but also thought it worked pretty well for these gathering stitches. I remembered to mark my centers on the top and bottom pieces, and then I got to gathering. I used another hack I've seen around the place as well, which involves putting a pin in at the end where you're pulling the gathering stitches through, and you lock off the threads by winding them around the pin, and then you can distribute the gathers more evenly and you don't lose any along the way, which I thought was very, very handy. And then when everything was even, I pinned it all and I was ready to stitch, so I just ran it through the machine. I also overlocked this and pressed the gathers up and then top stitched it all. Seems massively counterintuitive, but sometimes when I get nervous when I'm sewing, I just sew faster, because I'm like, oh, if it's going to be a mistake, I'd rather it happen sooner than later. Anyway, this looks like it's okay. I don't know. I'm just going to stitch up the side seams and see how it looks. And just to be true to the process of showing you everything, here is evidence that I did in fact sew the side seams before I overlocked stuff, and I top stitched the gathers so they were kind of pressed up permanently. And then I know you're meant to leave skirts to hang and stuff before you hem them, but you all know that I'm extremely impatient, so no, I did not do that. And I just hemmed it straight away. Yet another thing in my feed lately that was cool is where a guy was talking about how you can add interest to a garment simply by adding more stitching. So I decided to do another line of stitching along the hem for kind of two reasons. One, to make it look like a more deliberate decision, like I was committing to the length of the skirt, I think. And then the other was to give some literal weight to the bottom of the skirt so that the gathers don't puff out too much. I'm overall pretty happy with how it turned out and very close to the original vision. I'm already planning to make something similar in the future to try out this style again and to make it even more fitted. I still don't love the low waistband, so I might change that in future, but it'll do for now, and it still works as an underskirt for the cocktail dress too. So now I've added another 3 skirts to my wardrobe in a matter of days, so I'm very, very, very happy. Thank you so much for keeping me company on this journey. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So I will see you very, very soon. Thanks. Bye.